Welcome everyone to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today spawning the west side of the map playing in pink, we've got Baloo playing as the Byzantines. And Baloo's opponent today on the east side of the map playing in yellow. We've got Soldier playing as the Japanese. Welcome everyone to Dry Arabia. We've got the new civilizations today, the Byzantines and the Japanese. I'm pretty excited for this one. We've seen a lot of this matchup, but things are being figured out by both players, and both civilizations are slowly starting to sink in and feel comfortable and at home of Age of Empires 4. But this matchup is quite commonly played these days. Probably, arguably, the two civilizations that are the most popular, I would argue, for the new 6 that are out. But let me know in the comment section below which is your favorite civilization of the new 6 ones. I'd say, for me, probably the Japanese. Free farms, incredibly nice, unique units. And what's not to like about free farms? Going out to the forge, getting that gold, and there's a couple of options that the Byzantines and the Japanese both have. Japanese, I'd probably argue, maybe a bit more flexible, have the option to go for second town centers. Can be very aggressive. I love the fact that the Japanese have this really nice power spike at sort of like the 11-12 minute mark, depending on if they go 1 town center, 2 town center, of course. 2 towns will delay that kind of power spike in terms of military production. Can be incredibly fast, especially with some of the units they get. The Yashigara, and obviously the samurai can be strong in the feudal age. Gives you the vibes of the early man-at-arms that the English and the Holy Roman Empire have access to. Difficult to counter if they're massed up in many ways. You do have to rely on ranged units, but they can certainly pressure the issue. Couple of choices in chat. Japanese is a favorite. Certainly excited to see how these civilizations evolve over time. Now, speaking about the map gold situations, I mean, they're pretty okay. I mean, they're both symmetrical, at least, as it goes for both players. I mean, they're both forward, which is a horrible, individually, but it's the same for both, more or less, which is kind of fair. Berries, a similar sort of situation. Interesting enough, though, Baloo not going for sort of a third cistern or even a second one in the Dark Age, going for an early ground winery, which will increase that olive oil by 60%. And giving access to a mercenary is a little bit quicker than the other landmark would. What it does, though, it means that the Byzantines are probably going to be playing a bit more passively. Of course, don't have the benefit of the Imperial Hippodrome, the Triumph ability, and also the cavalry that, you can build straight away. It's going out to stone with 4 villages, and that could either be for extending the cistern network, which is probably what's likely to be the case. But could also be a signal of getting the extra cisterns and expanding the economy that way. On the Japanese side of things, it will be the Cura storehouse giving access to those free farms. And I love this play for the Japanese. The farms is a big deal, I think, because of course, wood is a very important resource to getting the infrastructure up, whether it be production buildings. And that's the main thing, really. And the fact that he doesn't have to seed farms for a long time, it saves such a big wood investment. It does also mean the Japanese can play a relatively condensed economy. It does have 2 deer camps here, so it would have been nice positioning for a second town center potentially. This would be a great spot for a second town center, right? 2 golds and a deer camp protected. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, at least not for now, for the Japanese. Playing 1 town center play, going against the Byzantines. And I understand that some ways because, of course, probably the Japanese are going to be looking to be the tempo aggressors in this matchup. The Byzantines might be looking to be a bit more defensive, and they do have some defensive capabilities. Getting Akratoi from the system will be equipping those villagers with weapons, increasing their damage from 6 to 10 and giving them some armor as well. Makes it a bit more difficult to raid and to kill. Still 4 villagers on stone. I mean, it looks like it's probably a second town center play, because it doesn't have any villagers building the cisterns. So it's definitely going to be more of a greedy approach for the Byzantines. Maybe the Japanese looking to punish that. And with Soldier now getting to the next stage with that Cura storehouse. Doesn't yet have the wood for a first production build. It's going to go for a fast castle build, it seems, because take a look at this. Certainly telegraphing it with 5 villages on gold. And I don't hate it, because, to be honest, this is going to give me access to relics, but also the Yorishiro, which is going to be, I love the, I mean, we're kind of jumping ahead of the gun, right? I mean, we don't know it's going to be the floating gate landmark, but I mean, it's going to be the floating gate landmark, right? It just kind of has to be. So, I mean, that's going to be access to the Yorishiro, and I think it's a really strong landmark to get, especially late game as well. I think you shouldn't underestimate it. The ability to get forges supplemented with those Yorishiro, giving the 75 gold per minute, is almost kind of like having relics, right? And it's a nice bit of gold passive generation for them. No, we did go for that second town center, by the way, on the 2 golds, which is kind of what I was expecting the Japanese also to do on the other side. The deer camp's a little bit further out, though, so it's not as well protected, and soldiers are aware of this, so might be looking to punish that in the castle age. I would love to see maybe attack into a mounted samurai. We'll give that mobility to get to in that castle age, of course, and maybe should be able to do some damage with that. Double broad axe coming in for Baloo. Could be increasing that wood income for sure. I've still got 1 villager on stone. That is probably just to look to get some more cisterns. Let's see, 8 olive oil coming in per 10 food dropped off. That's pretty powerful. Yet to get a mercenary house, though. Wouldn't be able to afford anything just yet, anyway. Is out onto farms nice and early. Is about to go to the next stage here, soldier. It'll be interesting to see what he goes up with. It's got to be the floating gate landmark, right? We very commonly see that. Has the ability to click up, is doing it now. And it will be that floating gate landmark. Going to be looking to secure some of the relics. Now bear in mind that if Baloo does start to wall up on the left side, we'll at least secure 1 relic. But it's going to want to be getting more than just 1. It's starting to get the olive grove transition, which is kind of expected in some ways. Once the double resource, right? Once the food and olive oil. Does have some deer to be taken in the south and berries. Does potentially have the access to the deer camp here. There might be an argument to say, well, you might want to take this early whilst you still can, because you're probably going to be expecting a lot of aggression if you've scouted out this fast castle coming out for the Japanese. He's now going out to wood. That's probably going to be the primary objective here for Soldier and the Japanese. He needs a production building or 2 just to get the military numbers rocking and rolling. But we'll get free access to Yorishiro as soon as the landmark is built, and there it is. The Shinto priest immediately taking that and popping it in the forge, I suspect. That is indeed the case. It'll be interesting to see where he places the second Yorishiro. Commonly done on the town centre. We'll see. There it is. It's going to go not for the second town centre. Instead, I think he's going to wait for the stable, maybe? Yeah, he's going to wait for the stable. This is actually a nice play for this because, interestingly, you can actually deposit it before the building's even built. It'll be giving an additional 200% production speed, by the way. It's actually really powerful for that timing. And there it is. Got the mounted samurai queued up. It's only going to be taking 12 seconds to trade, which is incredibly fast for a cavalry unit of that stature. I wonder whether the mercenary house has been built just yet. Hasn't for the Byzantines, so we don't really know what mercenary contract he'll be going up with. Has the ability to choose from 3 mercenary contracts. Commonly we see the western one. It's quite popular with the access to Longbowman, Landsknechte, and also the Streltsy in the late game if it gets there, which actually, to be unfair, I think Blue would be quite keen on getting there. Has got his economy set up that way, right? 2 town centres, Grand Winery, Olive Grove transition. He'd be quite keen for that late game. I would say as well, by the way, Baloo, I've casted a lot of games from this player, and I believe it's Numadan. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it is. In any case, he plays a lot of Byzantines and plays it in this very typical fashion. 2 town centre late game sort of style, and it's working quite well for him, I've got to say. He's beating a lot of civilizations, beating a lot of high level players. And it does give you vibes of the English, right? The fact that the farms, or the olive groves in this instance, give you more than 1 resource for food and olive oil, it means that they're a lot less reliant on gold as well. So their ability, like, they don't necessarily need mid-map control, unless it's thinking about sacred sites. They can sometimes be quite defensive and turtly and feed off the olive oil. Do you see some mounted samurai and some relics being brought in already? Just the 1 so far picked up by Soldier. Now bear in mind the Japanese will actually have to build a Shinto shrine, and that's exactly what he's done to be able to deposit that relic. Isn't actually going for another Shinto priest just yet either. So we'll take some time to bring those relics in. You see walling in coming up for Baloo. We commonly see this done. It's actually a nice play because it does deny that relic from being swept up. But it's going to be a nice raid. Now, what's really nice about the Japanese units, a lot of them anyway, especially the mounted samurai, you can see that white health bar at the top of the yellow one? And it's such a good boost for it. What it does is essentially a shield, and it deflects completely the first melee or range attack that it hits it. And that is super strong because ultimately it means that they can dive in a lot quicker like that and not even take any damage at all on the first hit. It does take some time to regenerate out of combat, but you can see these guys already got theirs back. That's a lot of mounted samurai. But there's a decent number of Limitana there for Blue that will be looking to try and defend. Only 2 that will get swept up, of course. 2 won't be enough. And he will be taken out, of course. Back at home. He has got the mercenary house now. Did go for the Western mercenary contract now with the longbowman. Going to be popping out and getting steeled arrow as well. Just going to be longbowman Limitane. Essentially a heavily infantry-based army. And he does have the walls up, which does mean it does limit the range of attack that can be had here for the Japanese. The angles of attack pretty limited. Going to be diving in that town centre. He's probably happy to do so, of course, with that little bit of shield that they get. Back at home, plenty of farms on that Cura storehouse have been spawned for free. 2 relics in the bag. Maybe more on the way. Slowly but surely getting those walls up. Yep, continuing those olive oil seeking olive groves and looking to get the sacred sites as well. And behind this, soldiers still sticking on that one town centre. Bear in mind though, this one town centre is a special one. It has been upgraded to the Daimyo Manor. We'll be giving an extra 25% boosting of the villager gather rate, which is pretty hefty, 25%. Factor in as well, it does increase the HP, also gives you a free villager. And it's very difficult to be burnt down if it does get to the late game if it goes for the Shogunate Castle. Of course, this is only 25%, can be increased to the Daimyo Manor, or Daimyo Palace rather, and that'll give you a good 50%, and then the Shogunate Castle, giving you a 75% boosting. Capturing the second sacred site. Well, definitely focusing on the economy here, Byzantines, with another upgrade coming in the form of the wheelbarrow. And is extending that network system, of course. Is at water level 3, so these villagers will have a 15% boosting of their efficiency. And what's really kind of scary though, if you're playing as the Japanese, is not so much just the fact that your opponent is getting a lot of villagers, but the economy scales incredibly nicely with the water level, increasing that villager gather rate, but also the production speed with the conscriptio for these systems. It means that the village gathering rate is going to be boosting that economy, and then they're going to be able to keep up with production pretty quickly as well. Mounted Samurai joined with the Bannerman, which is a really nice unit for the Japanese. We'll be increasing the attack damage by 15%. It's interesting that the Japanese are in this way because a lot of the other civilizations generally have a boosting of attack speed. You know, whether it be the outposts with the English and the network of castles, whether it be the Meta with the, or the Ottomans with the Meta, whether it be the Delhi Sultanate with the Tower of Victory. These are all bonuses based on attack speed. The Japanese have raw power, raw damage, coming in with their Bannerman. Now, Baloo has been in the feudal age this whole time. We'll be going up to the castle age with the Golden Horn Tower, which will be, definitely boosting things up for him in terms of military production. It's going to get him free units, or free mercenary units, I should say. Also, by the way, getting the mercenary house on that trade post will unlock the capabilities to get the Camel Archer and the Musafadi Warrior, which actually could be really interesting to see. Especially considering there's quite a lot of these mounted samurai. The Musafadi warriors, of course, adept at dealing with highly armored units, such as the mounted samurai. But with 70 villagers, it's looking strong, that economy. Now in the castle age, this could be a time, it's really tricky for Soldier, right? Because he's actually teched into a unit that can be countered by, or semi-countered by feudal age units that scale well into the castle age. So plenty of Limitani here on the field for Blue. We'll push this back. He can't really deal with this unless he has veteran samurai, which he does. They're coming on the field now, and Soldier might be looking to boost up some of these barracks with those Yorishiro to keep up. Go for more forges. Maybe looking to gather some stone, but with 3 relics in the bag, 1 more coming in. It's going to be tricky for Baloo. Of course, there's a lot of villager deficit that Soldier has, but it's somewhat kept up with because of those relics and sacred sites. Has activated the sacred site timer, by the way. So 10 minutes on the clock. We're looking to torch down that second town center. I believe that second town center probably will go, unless does he go for Presidium? He hasn't togged on to Presidium. It's something that's often overlooked, but this actually would be beneficial, be reducing the damage coming in by a good 20%. I mean, it's going to be going down anyway, to be fair. I don't think it would have changed the outcome. It would have just delayed it a little bit. It's something that Baloo needs to be careful about, right? Because a lot of military on the field does get that one relic coming in soon. But we might just see a flood of units for the Japanese. We said it before, right? We said 14, or we said about, I think 12, 13 minutes we said, of a power spike of mass production of units, depending on, you know, the strategy they go for. And he's starting to flood those units across the map. You can see the trickling of yellow units. And these are Castle Age units, by the way. Baloo can't really engage with this too well, except unless it's like this, where it's Limitane versus mounted samurai. That he can definitely engage with. Oh, Baloo! He's going to take the fight, and Soldier's got to get out of there. Holy moly, that's not a fight he wants to take. Now, he's somewhat buffered by the shield, which is handy to have, for sure. Taking in with some Onibigation, which I love that bit of detail, by the way. I think the Onibigation is such a strong utility unit. With melee engagements like this, it just fights over the shoulders of the Japanese units with the increased attack range. And they fight fast. Incredibly fast attack speed. I think 0.75, or 0.9 actually. Yeah, 0.9. It's pretty nifty. Especially because it changes the dynamics of the fight, right? Like, in terms of sheer surface area, in a one-on-one battle, like a single row of melee mosh pit, the Onibigation, they change things. It essentially doubles the surface area the Japanese can engage with, and severely or really heavily increases that DPS. Gonna be or overall DPS, of course, in that engagement. 2 barracks coming out. Gonna be looking to extend production capabilities, but more importantly, just make it a little bit closer to where the engagement's looking to be. Certainly looking to be on the northern side. Now, I wonder whether it's going to be protecting the sacred sites. No static defenses just yet. So getting good gold trickle, but not necessarily a hugely convincing win condition possible here just yet. Bear in mind, it would be good to see what upgrades that the Japanese have. Do you have the capability of getting 4 melee attack upgrades, by the way? Which is not usual. All the other civilizations, unfortunately, only get 3. The Japanese, though, they're special in that regard, and might be looking to ride through this. You've got to be careful. That's a large army there, Baloo. Very compact and together. And it feels like maybe Soldier not necessarily using the mobility of the samurai to great effect just yet. It's going to be looking to do just that, though. Does get the sacred site decapped, and this is what I mean. It didn't really necessarily see as a particular strong win condition potential just yet, at least. I would love to see a couple of the mounted samurai giving a bit of a problem by riding in. Would split up the army. Splitting the army. The samurai do go on the north. Oh, okay. Well, Soldier looking to take this fight. Baloo quite happy to engage with it. Does have the Onibigation. I think the Onibigation, though, will be dishing out a lot of damage. Mounted samurai are nowhere to be found, and Limitane going to be diving in as well. Acting as a meat shield. The samurai, though, should be fine at dealing with that. Here come the mounted samurai from the back. Going to be diving on those longbowmen. That's a great play there. Diving in. And they're going to be ripping that army apart. Baloo is going to lose everything if he's not careful. Does have a couple of Limitane there pushing back those mounted samurai for now. But the regular infantry-based samurai charging in. We're looking to try and finish the deal, but here comes some reinforcements for the Byzantines. The defender's advantage, holding in good position. Going to be getting that sacred site in the north once again. Looking to reactivate that sacred site timer. Now, Soldier with 60 villagers, but bear in mind with 4 relics and 2 sacred sites, that is not too terrible. That gap in villager or eco is not as big as you'd expect it to be. Byzantines, Baloo really starting to wall up and make sure he's safe and protected. He's certainly confident in that late game. Certainly get those vibes in the way he's playing. Oh yeah, this is what we talked about. Keeping the mounted samurai active. Just making sure that Baloo has to split up his army at least. Going to be getting a keep on that sacred site. Baloo is not keen on losing the game due to sacred sites. Oh, Shinto Priest does back away. Does have another Yorishiro that could be deposited somewhere. Now, in terms of sheer food income, like, I mean, Soldiers put it in pretty well. Almost 1,200 per minute, courtesy of these farms. We'd love to see the Daimyo Palace being upgraded once more. It looks like it's maybe heading to that position, but that stone could be spent on keeps as well. Speaking of keeps, well, Baloo gets his one up. There's quite a few samurai there, but I'm not sure it's enough in numbers just yet. Does have mostly Limitane Mangonel behind that. This is a good fight here for Baloo if he can keep the samurai numbers down. But what I got to say is that the Bannerman does leave the aura there. The samurai, mounted samurai, engaged with the Limitane, not really engaging where they want to be. And the Mangonel does deploy, but is going to be taken apart by just a couple of Limitane. Another Mangonel there is on the field in the back line. The samurai get ripped apart, and this is looking terrible for Soldier. Took the fight when maybe he didn't necessarily need to or couldn't, because it was a bad one in the end. And fighting underneath that keep as well. With the Mangonel on placement, and all of a sudden, Baloo with that military lead, 56 versus 19. Soldier's got his work cut out for himself. Does lose another Mangonel too, and all of a sudden, Baloo's economy looking strong. Look at the resources bank. It's looking hefty. And bear in mind, Baloo could just bang his head against the wall, just shove these units in front of the Japanese. And he'd be able to replace that army very quickly as well. Soldier, on the other hand, has got a lot of gold. So we'll be expecting to see heavily armored units. We see a couple of Katana Bannermen. We'll be boosting up the veteran samurai. We could potentially even drop a market just to balance that economy, because there's a lot of gold floating in, of course, benefiting from the 4 relics and the 3 sacred sites. I think at this point a market would be needed. Interesting enough, Baloo not actually deactivating the sacred site. No real pressure to do so just yet. Has got full control in that area. It's going to be the Imperial Age coming in for the Byzantines. I mean, the issue for Soldier really is the gold, right? It's floating so much and hasn't been able to balance that economy. It's the big difference between having relics and sacred sites versus villages. Obviously, you've got more versatility by having villages. You can, you know, move them out to whatever resource you want. You can manage your eco a little bit better. Now, Soldier looking to try and reset and regroup, but you got the feeling that maybe 1 or 2 more fights, unless they go incredibly well for Soldier and the Japanese, it might be difficult. He's going to be trying to rush in with a couple of samurai and push the issue a little bit. Baloo will send some forces there. Does get to that Imperial Age now with the Palatine School, which is a great landmark, by the way, for the Byzantines. We'll be giving some free units here and there. About 30% chance of spawning one of the units that you train, whether, you know, it has to be either a Limitane, Ringing Guard, Cataphract, or Cairo Siphon, but got 30% chance of getting another one. Adding in some Musafadis as well, which would definitely do well against those samurai. And this is a concern for the Japanese, right? It doesn't have any ranged units as far as I can see, at least not on the map. It doesn't. And that's going to make the Musafadi warriors incredibly difficult to deal with. And here they are. Couple of samurai there on the back, but they will be swept up, and the problem for Soldier is not being able to get any critical fights where he wanted it, right? Baloo's just done such a great work of keeping his economy safe and keeping it boosted and incredibly strong. Veteran horsemen being added in, but essentially now it's the Castle Age units versus the Imperial Age units, and it almost feels like Soldier is trying to pressure the issue whilst he still can, but if he doesn't take a really good fight in the next couple of minutes, he will be down and out. He's looking to take that fight just now. Horsemen diving in. 2 Mangonels on the back line. They will be engaging against the Musafadi warriors. To be fair, the Mangonels could do some damage against the Musafadi warriors, but the Musafadi warriors are going to just charge in and try and take them out. Here come some of those horsemen to try and take the Musafadi out, but I think 1 or 2 will bleed through. And they will snipe out the Mangonels in the end. And might get one at least. Maybe not the second. He doesn't actually get any of them in the end. That Mangonel is on half health. Manages to get away with that there, Soldier, I think. Captures the sacred site in the north now, Baloo. Making things even more challenging for Soldier. Certainly the Mangonel placement that keep. Going to be dishing out damage against the horsemen. They are veteran horsemen at the end of the day. And still has 2 Mangonels, but he needs to get some critical damage here, Soldier. Looking to take out the outpost first, and then maybe the keep. This is certainly going to be the focus for the fight. Baloo kind of evacuating those villagers. Getting roller shutter triggers, getting all important upgrades, right? This is going to be difficult with the Limitana getting to veteran status. Well, 2 sacred sites and 4 relics. That gold income is looking strong. I'm surprised not to see some of that being traded in for food. And the push continues for Baloo, respecting his opponent, making sure the economy is safe with stone walls and slowly pushing further out. And it's going to become important to get access to gold at this point, right? Because it's getting to almost the 26-minute mark, and both players will have to move into the mid-map positions to get access to that gold. There's still another massive gold vein here in the south. One in the north, very much controlled by Baloo. Well, Soldier going to be trying to break through, but ultimately, now with the stone walls there, you know, Blue playing this incredibly methodically, very securely. And these horsemen can't do anything at this point. They won't be able to breach the stone walls. Maybe the wood walls they'll get through. It's going to be the Castle of the Crow to get to the Imperial Age. I think this game might be over in the next 5 minutes one way or another, because the Castle Crow, what that will do, that will signal to Blue that actually a massive investment has been made into the Tech Cup, and that will be the time to attack. The Safari Warriors. I mean, imagine if there was friendly fire. If those mangonels. Definitely misaimed. The Safari Warriors going to rip through a couple of those units, but of course they will fall down just by sheer numbers. Tried to ram his way through on that stone wall, but villagers came out to repair and wasn't able to make too much progress. And it will be the Castle of the Crow, which is an interesting landmark for the Japanese. Able to spawn some treasure caravans. And also will be a static defense. I think generally kind of has to get this because, of course, he knows that he's going to be under pressure as soon as he techs up. The Tanegashima Gunsmith, a very popular landmark. We have to get the Azutsu from those, but ultimately forced by the conditions of the fight, I think. And there it is. Blue getting ready. Getting ready. Looking to maybe get some rams as the siege engines that he wants to try and do some infrastructure damage. Does take out a Springald, so first engagement's working quite well here for Baloo. No, there's no Springald ultimately for Soldier, so those mangonels are always going to be at risk. Going to be diving on that wood line. Slowly but surely going to be making his way onto the farms as well. And this is looking precarious for the Japanese. Ultimately, if Baloo takes this fight, even if he loses it, he can replenish his army in a blink of an eye. And he's just going to take the engagement. Probably look to burn farms whilst he can. And as long as he doesn't engage against those 4 mangonels. The 4 mangonels still might hold on, but the ultimate problem is those Springals. 2 of them remain. Well, there were 3 actually. Now only 2. He does snipe 1 more, but he's going to lose his Springald in the end. Good thing he does have the Castle of the Crow. It's important that he got that in that position. But he lost a lot of economy. The farms are empty. Now, there are a couple of blacksmith upgrades missing for the Byzantines and the Japanese. That's surprising to see that for the Byzantines, though. Kind of expected them to have them all by now. Oh, great mangonel shot, though. That was unexpected. The slow movement speed, I think, scuppered by the Cairo Siphon. Because if you group up all the units, they only go as fast as the slowest member. And loses another Springald. Bit of an oversight there by Baloo. Unexpected, but Soldier getting a couple of pickings off. You can see the dead bodies immediately disintegrate into the ground within a matter of seconds. The harsh realities of warfare, I guess. I mean, Soldier with these siege engines has been able to hold on for now. Still playing, I think, just 1 town centre. Now, I actually would have loved to have seen a second town centre, though, by the way, for the Japanese, because like, he's quite far behind in population, and he's got the resources to do so, right? And actually, Baloo's kind of showing him a lot of respect, giving him a lot of time. Considering the eco banked up, 10,000 food, 4,000 gold. I mean, if he's got the stone for it and the wood, he possibly could have been thinking about Wanda. Of course, he's miles away from that in terms of those 2 particular resources. And speaking about important resources, well, this gold is looking to be going to be a popular site for this game in particular because, well, it should be. At least Soldier going north. Blue, rather, going north. It's going to be getting that wood line secured. And certainly wood is going to be becoming a problem too. That's not a Cairo Siphons, by the way. 4 of them. Getting the gold off the map, getting the stone. Certainly, this is going to be possibly something that Baloo could pressurize. And if he does, he cuts off the gold income because he doesn't have all that much at the moment in the bank. That could be the way to win the game, a quick way. Well, these mangonels That's what's holding the fort so far for the Japanese. But 61 military, I've got to say, it's kind of tricky, right? Because, I mean, I don't think it's really much of a threat just yet because of the amount of static defenses, the walls. It would take time to breach and things. Like, if... It would be a totally different story if he didn't have these walls. But Baloo, even if he loses a fight here, which he might, by the way, because 65 military is nothing to be underestimated. When you factor in there's bannermen in there, there's siege engines in the form of Springald, so it makes it a bit tricky for Baloo to engage with this. He's got a lot of villages, right? It's a population capacity. And if he does take one bad fight, though, the thing is he just replenishes, right? And this is a key bit of detail that a lot of people overstep or don't or they just kind of miss. If he does lose one big fight, he does need to prevent the army pushing in, and he's got the capabilities of that with the walls. Buys him time if he does lose a fight, which he might not even in the end. It does take out 2 mangonels quite cheaply there. The Springals were out of position for Soldier, and he missed the mark on that micro front. The mangonel placement, the range on that thing, holy moly, 8 tiles range. It's pretty decent. The Karasav is moving north now. 5 of them. The Byzantines may be looking to make the Japanese burn. Not a lot here to burn, though. Just yet. Getting a keep in the central sacred site. I mean, to be fair, that would be a nice bit of gold to come in. Now, whilst he does have 4 relics and 1 sacred site, it won't necessarily be enough to fully fund a full-scale warfare in the Imperial Age. Oh, this is interesting. I kind of like this. Baloo's sent 5 Karasyphons almost to their death, but what it does, it gives them space to push in the middle. I mean, ideally, you'd want to use another baiting unit. But Soldier really committing to that, sending pretty much his whole force, and leaves a bit of an entry point in the middle of his map. Does get a keep on the central sacred site, though, which does have a rocket flipping in placement, by the way. It's actually insane. 81 rocket damage. Does 110 additional damage against infantry and cavalry. And it's going to look to just torch this down. Of course, no boiling oil, no cannon placement just yet. The rocket damage could be enough to dish out damage, but it will go down pretty soon. Does have 5,500 HP. Karasyphon, I mean, he might have just been looking to free up population space in some ways, but it would have been nice to have had that in a strong push. And he's just going to torch that down. And yep, I think Baloo's recognizing now that actually... Wait, he's going to burn with the villagers? What's going on? Okay, probably sacrificing the mangonel shots does good enough. Doesn't actually kill him in the end. Mangonel decides to redirect on the Limitane, and for good reason, because those Limitane might just jump on those mangonels. A couple of Springals do get sniped. Japanese out of Springals now, and now Baloo should be able to snipe out those mangonels. And that allowed the Streltsy, the perfect late-game unit, to push on. Does keep the castle up and alive, though. Lost quite a lot of units to try and take that castle down, and didn't manage to get it down in the end. Repairs coming out for Soldier. And well, the units coming out now, Samurai with a couple of hand cannoneers and the back line of them. Getting a couple of rams, and all of a sudden, well, Baloo is being pushed back quite heavily. The villagers in the south trying to get a keep. That's not going to happen with the Samurai spotting that out. Well, in fact, the villagers. It's just villagers versus villagers at this point. He tried to deny that golden income, but it hasn't for now. Wow, okay, well, Soldier's pushing this back, which is actually kind of surprising. This is definitely a turn of events, but I've got to say, Baloo's got the static defenses. We talked about this earlier. Okay, he might lose a fight, but he should be able to replenish that army before they make any particular inroads into the heart of the Byzantine economy. Can I get a bit of pressure on that keep with 2 rams, but those 2 Springals will take care of that, no doubt about that, I would imagine. Wait, is that stone wall actually open? I mean, it's going through the gate, so no, I guess not. You'd have to move the deer, right? I'm not so sure, actually. That's kind of crazy. Well, the outpost will go down. The Karasyphon gonna just body block more than anything. Wait, he can go through, right? Like, he can go through that. I'm pretty sure he can go through. Not that he will, because he's got a lot to deal with in the front for now. But yeah, take a look. The army numbers just built up again there for Baloo. 68 in total. But he's going to be taking that keep. This is a crazy push by the Japanese. Kind of unexpected. This economy's scaling quite nicely. Got plenty of food in the bank. Now, certainly gold's an issue. But there's one mechanic I've got to refer to in this situation. And it's the Yorishiro. If he gets a lot of forges, a lot of Yorishiro inside them, that's going to be a lot of gold coming in. We'll take a quick scan on that. Doesn't seem to have all that many. Kind of surprising. In any case, both players do reset. And it feels like the late game armor composition there with the Streltsy, it's hard to beat, right? To get on top of those Streltsy is going to be difficult. There's a lot of them. 23 in total. But I gotta say, that was a strong pushback from the Japanese. In many ways unexpected, but he's making it work. And he does have still a bit of gold trickling in. And this, well, I say trickling in. There's 24 villagers getting that. Almost 2,000 gold in per minute. But once that expires, the question is, what does Soldier do after that? Samurai going to tank on the front line. Veteran horsemen, are they elite yet? Are they elite yet? They are. They're going to go around the back. Going to try and dive on the Streltsy, but they get ripped through. The hand cannoneer is going to be ripping through a couple of the Varangian guards. Bannerman still sticking up and alive, leading the charge for the Samurai. The Samurai need to get on top of those Streltsy if they can. Bannerman does go down, but does leave the aura for 30 seconds. It's going to be mostly hand cannoneers versus Streltsy at this point, but a couple of those Limitane still stay alive. They're going to be meat shielding for the Streltsy to fight on the back line of that, and the Streltsy should win this. It'll come down to who can reinforce quick, and it does look like it's going to be Blue coming in with a horde of units from the west, with the elite horsemen going to be diving in on the... it looks like Yumi Bannerman, maybe taking into ranged units a bit here. Soldier having to rely on heavily food and wood invested units. Does have a bit of a gold banking up, but again, Baloo loses army, who replenishes it very quickly. The rocket damage coming from that castle, though, absolutely devastating. But it's going to kill Kyra of Siphons. Streltsy moving off a little bit further forward than maybe they should. Doesn't have the meat shield to protect it just yet. Limitane might get in position, though. Down in the south, it's going to be burning down the keep very soon. The Kyra Siphon going to make short work of that, you feel? Especially with the torch damage coming out. And once that castle goes down, where do the Japanese hold on from there? Oh, look to try and take down that keep if you can. Villagers summoned to the call, looking to burn that down. And that keep will stay alive. It's going to lose the castle on the front, though. Second time around, Baloo gets it. Maybe looking to try and deny that gold vein now after that. 72 military versus 40. The banker resources looking incredibly strong for Baloo. But I gotta say, the Japanese held on for a while. But I can't see them holding for much longer, especially when it's mostly horsemen being produced. They don't have the premium units that the Byzantines do with the Streltsy and the Varangian Guard, of which there are 5. Oh, try to get a keep there. Didn't quite work out. Does send a couple of horsemen to push those villagers back, though. Might lose a couple of villagers. In fact, this will go down. He invested quite heavily with 4 rams, and that will actually maybe give him a bit of access to gold. Villagers going to try and torch down the rams as much as they can. Trying to keep the keep alive for as long as possible. Mangonel emplacement is inside. He loses all those villagers, and all of a sudden the villager count is equalized. Wait, what is going on? I mean, is there a world in which if Soldier holds this push, could he somehow push back? I mean, I don't know. Byzantine late game is something else. But he does have a lot of mangonels, and that can certainly change the fight very quickly. He's got to deal with those Kyra Siphons first. Coming down the south, it's actually going to be idling a lot of those villagers. Villagers on gold, only 4 of them. 3 of them. There's that fight that we kind of expected. The horsemen going to be diving around on the back line, trying to get on top of the Streltsy if they can. Kyra Siphon need to be ignored at this point. And the horsemen are going to dive on this. Now, the great thing for the Japanese is if he can get the Streltsy numbers down, he would have used up primarily trash units, non-gold units to take them out. But he does need to take them out with the mangonels as well. Actually, this is a big pushback. Soldier will win this fight. There's quite a few Kyra Siphons which do need to be stopped. But once they are stopped, Soldier is looking in a good spot. Those mangonels, that's looking scary there. The Streltsy trying to micro as much as they possibly can. He needs to take out the Springles. There, Soldier. If he takes out the Springles, the mangonels should be safe. Villagers coming out to the gold. They're kind of struggling on that gold. And all of a sudden, Soldier is pushing on hard forward. He will take care of the Kyra Siphons in the end. That push has ended. And he's getting top of the Streltsy if he can. Mangonels deploying, not necessarily where they want to be. But how has he managed to do this? Crazy pushback by Soldier. Although, then we see a horde of cavalry coming in from the north. Those mangonels are goners. And the push maybe for Soldier now is down and out. Kind of an intense game, back and forth. It's hard to actually fully put the nails in the coffin here for Baloo. I mean, it should be his game to win, considering the resource bank, but definitely Soldier staying true to the name. He's definitely soldiering on. Still a bit of decent gold income coming in. Oh, getting another keep just to protect that position, which is not a bad spot, right? Because a lot of the aggression is coming through right down the middle. Does have this gold vein to take as well. Needs to take care of those rams. It could be a breach point on the west side. It's hard to get around for Soldier, especially with this keep staring in his face. But look at the military numbers below. He's really producing. He's really pumping. Let's take a look. Look at the military production. capabilities. It's looking decent, but factor in, of course, the water level. Is at water level 5. So each building will essentially be double the production speed as a regular Japanese building. Does have another Yorishiro to deposit. A great game of Age of Empires. Well, now does actually get another town centre. Better late than never, I guess. Now, the fact that soldiers have been able to hold on for so long at 150 population, it's been 150 population for quite some time, is quite remarkable. Couple of horsemen coming in from the north just to see if they can get some raining damage, and they might get a little bit. It will be swept up. Committing a lot of the forces there. Should clean that up, and it might be an indication for Baloo now to push in the middle. Doesn't just yet, it's holding the fort. Okay, the cavalry will be going down pretty soon. Only 4 left. 2 trebuchets. I love that addition. I think the Japanese need to invest in a couple of springles, though. It was always the concern, right? When you've got trebuchets, you've got to be able to defend them, not only with meat-shielded units, but also against the anti-siege unit of the springald. He's got to make sure this is protected. He's got to be careful, because the Japanese units, if he loses them, it's hard to replace for him. He doesn't have that much gold in the bank. Rides in with the cavalry first. Baits them in a little bit to let the hand cannoneers work. Samurai on the front, going to be tanking against the Varangian Guard. Streltsy on the back line for the Byzantines. They're going to be getting a lot of damage output. Springald is there, but not firing on the trebuchets. I don't know why. The horsemen are going to try and get a wrap around on the springalds. They do actually start to punish that. The trebuchets are pushing the static defenses back, and that's a great fight there for the Japanese. Somehow coming on top with the samurai, absolutely blitzing their way through. The bannerman, the katana bannerman, certainly at the heart of that push, does lose his life in the end, but he continues his aura for 30 seconds. And all of a sudden, the Byzantines being pushed back once again. That keep is under fire from the 2 trebuchets on the back line. All of a sudden, the Japanese military numbers looking strong, 60 to 45. Baloo being pushed back once again. Has 4 springals, but if the samurai can get on top of that, that could be dangerous. Oh no, the hand cannoneers focusing on the keep. That's not where they want to be. They should be assisting the samurai. The samurai, they've been left to hang and dry. All of a sudden, though, Baloo now has a chance to reset. The 2 trebuchets, they might take out that keep. 2 mangonels, though. That's a lot of infantry that they could take care of if they do get shot off. Oh, the hand cannoneers need to back away. The threat of those 2 mangonels is too dangerous. The 2 mangonels do deploy. Takes out a couple of the hand cannoneers on the back. If they get another shot off, it could be critical. Horsemen going to try and get close and personal, but there's just not enough of them. Varangian Guards using their berserking ability to get close to those hand cannoneers. Does take a couple of them off, and the mangonel placement in that keep is doing wonders. The 2 trebuchets, though, might take it out. Villagers coming out to repair just in the nick of time. Maybe we shall see. They got the hammers out. Will it be enough against 2 trebuchets? I'm not so sure. Springals are there. Oh, this is going to be close. He loses 1 trebuchet. He keeps the keep alive. Only just. And he does take out that other trebuchet. An absolute clutch play by Baloo there to keep that keep alive. It's so important when stone is such a scarce resource at this moment in the game. 3 Chirosyphons. Looking to burn that castle in the north. Needs to be patient, though, Baloo. Doesn't want to lose them cheaply. And all of a sudden now it's Baloo's turn to attack. 2 more trebuchets unpacking. And trying to get outpost for that vision. Baloo. I gotta say, at the end of this game, whilst there will be one winner, you have to say, whoever does lose it, they definitely put up a great fight. A great game of Age of Empires 4, which possibly could go for a very long time, so brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to see. It could change at any moment, right? I think the mangonels now for the Byzantines might turn this tide, though. There's a lot of infantry that they're going to unpack on. Fighting in the stealth forest. Does Soldier actually see all of this? I'm not so sure. He does now. He sees a bit of the siege. And he does back away just as well, because it could have been a massacre. Trying to repair that castle. Does have the rocket damage, by the way, so the castle is straight up better here for the Japanese than the Byzantines. Not so much in HP, but he will have the increased damage output from the rocket. I'm not sure it'll be enough, though. That castle will go down, especially if the mangonels start to fire on it. Might not even have to. The Varangian Guards will be fine enough to torch it down. Soldier. He needs his soldiers. Oh, I love this play, by the way. The horsemen coming down the south. Maybe look just to pounce on the back line for the Byzantines if they can get close. Wants to try and bait him in. See, that's very purposeful movement with that army, by the way. Does group up once again. Getting another castle just to protect that farming economy. It's sad to see that this isn't the a shogunate castle, though. To be fair, he does have a decent amount of food income coming in. It's not necessarily the biggest problem that he's got. The biggest problem he's got is probably the mangonels. Oh, that's a good shot on those infantry. Unobligation being added in, which could be a clutch play, but the cataphracts coming with the trample damage. The Byzantines, the prime unit, the flagship unit, diving in onto that backline and taking them out in incredible pace. And those mangonels now might clean up everything else that's behind it. Villagers on woodline, they're getting massacred by Gaza Limitane. One more mangonel, but the cataphracts in huge numbers. The premium unit going to be diving on the siege. Maybe trample damage again, but probably in a cooldown. We sniping the Springle. This could be the end of the game, ladies and gentlemen. The Japanese, they are being overrun by the Byzantine army. 2 mangonels still alive. And that is a big problem. The Japanese needed to take care of those mangonels, and they just couldn't. And now it's going to push once again. 2 Cairo siphons to the north. Might be taking that secondary town center. Will make it even harder for the Japanese to reboom and rebuild. The Byzantines need to do some critical damage if they are to make this push count. Does have the Castle of the Crow and the Castle in the north. Will buy him some time here for the Japanese, but a lot of that farming economy has now been taken out. And this push is strong for the Byzantines. I'm telling you, the Byzantines are a great civilization. People are underestimating it in the late game, and Baloo showing exactly why. That castle might follow next to go down after that town center. The Castle of the Crow, though, is still standing firm. The cataphracts are now down in numbers. They lost a lot of them, but they did a great job for the Byzantine army. I dare not look at how many villages have been lost in the game. Actually, not that many, I've got to say. I was expecting more. Mangonel staying alive. 4 Cairo siphons. Things a bit tricky here for a soldier. Only 31 military is pretty much keeping up on villager count, though, which is definitely ideal. A lot of it has been idle for a while. But another horde of those cataphracts coming in. The bank of resources of the Byzantines really paying for itself. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Japanese tap out. What a great game of Age of Empires 4 from 2 flagship civilizations as part of the new Sultan's Ascend DLC. I hope you guys enjoyed the castle game. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.